Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so picture this. You've studied a language for years. You absolutely aced every single grammar test, and then you finally travel to the country, only to realize you have literally no idea what anyone is actually saying. Yeah, that feeling of hitting a massive linguistic brick wall, that's exactly what we're going to tear down today. We're unpacking the core premise of a fascinating, super focused text called Modern Vernacular, the Essential American Idiom Guide. And throughout this explainer, we're going to completely challenge your perception of language fluency and show you the exact difference between just being a student of English and being a true master of American communication. Let's dive right into this stark contrast. We're talking about the rigid rules you learn in a classroom versus the fluid, actual language spoken out there on the streets and in the homes of Americans. On one side, you've got textbook English, right? It's precise, it's grammatically flawless, and honestly, it's kind of stiff. It's the language of academic essays and formal emails. But on the flip side, we have the real English Americans use daily. And guys, this is where the magic happens. It's dynamic, it bends the rules, and it's how actual human connection is forged over a cup of coffee or, a quick chat in the hallway. Moving on to section 1, the real English Americans use. Now, the absolutely crucial point here revolves around this specific, really powerful tagline: real English Americans use daily. This one simple sentence completely shifts the goalpost. We're going from chasing academic perfection to focusing on practical survival. It's not asking, hey, can you conjugate some perfectly obscure verb tense on a piece of paper? No, it's asking if you can successfully order a sandwich at a noisy deli, or laugh at a joke at a dinner party, or just instantly understand a frustrated coworker. This tagline is a bold declaration that true fluency actually lives in the everyday messiness of life. So let's break that down a bit. First up, we have real English, and this basically means authentic and unpolished. It's the language with the rough edges deliberately left on. Then we have Americans. This highlights the culturally specific context. You see, English in London or Sydney has its own distinct flavor, obviously, but here we are strictly zeroing in on the American cultural landscape. And finally, use daily. This is all about practical, everyday application. The focus isn't on formal essays or Shakespeare. It's the daily, practical reality of how people actually talk to each other right now, today. Which brings us to Section 2, defining modern vernacular. The guide defines vernacular as the language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular country or region, and I really want you to absorb that for a second. Vernacular is not just some random collection of slang words, and it's definitely not just incorrect grammar. Actually, it is the absolute heartbeat of daily American life. It's this shared cultural code that ordinary folks use to navigate their world. When you grasp the vernacular, you don't just understand the words coming out of someone's mouth, you gain a true measure of belonging in a conversation. You basically become an insider. Now notice how the source text explicitly pairs the concept of vernacular with the word modern. Why is that so deeply important? Well, because language isn't a museum exhibit. By slapping modern on there, the text signals that we aren't talking about historical phrases from the 1950s that literally no one says anymore. No, this is a living, breathing current linguistic ecosystem. It perfectly reflects the rapid changes in culture, technology, and society that are shaping how Americans communicate at this very second. Okay, let's look at Section 3, the Essential Idiom Guide. And right here is where so many incredibly dedicated learners get permanently stuck. An idiom is defined as a group of words established by usage as having a meaning not deducible from those of the individual words. Think about that. Idioms represent this dreaded vernacular wall that non-native speakers slam right into. I mean, if someone tells you it's raining cats and dogs, or that you need to bite the bullet, translating those words literally makes absolutely zero sense. It sounds completely absurd. The true meaning is hidden entirely in the cultural usage, not in the dictionary definition of the individual words. It's like a giant puzzle. And this brilliant breakdown really shows why the guide calls itself essential. Get this. When you look at daily American communication, a massive 85% is driven by modern vernacular and idioms. 85%, while only a measly 15% relies on strict formal grammar. To put that into perspective, if you are only studying textbook grammar, you're only accessing a tiny fraction of the language. The vast majority of natural daily conversation relies heavily on these totally unpredictable phrases rather than the rules in a textbook. That is exactly why mastering them isn't just a nice to have, it's an absolute necessity. Let's wrap this up in Section 4, Mastering Daily Communication. The source text deliberately spotlights that word essential for a very good reason. Because without understanding the modern vernacular and its idioms, true cultural comprehension and daily connection remain completely out of reach. Sure, you might be able to exchange basic information like asking for directions, but you won't be able to build deep rapport. You won't catch that nuanced humor, and you definitely won't pick up on the subtle emotional cues that Americans use every single day.
So, the big question, how do we actually achieve this? Well, the text implies a really clear three-step roadmap for the focused learner. Step one, move beyond standard grammar. You already have the foundational rules, so now give yourself permission to step off them. Step two, embrace modern vernacular. Just accept the language as it's actually spoken out in the real world, messy reality, and the whole shebang. And step three, master American idioms. Learn those specific, colorful phrases that bring American speech to vibrant life. It's a natural progression from just knowing the sterile rules to actually getting out there and playing the dynamic game.
As we wrap up this explainer on the true nature of the American idiom and modern vernacular, I want to leave you with one final, pretty powerful question to chew on. Are you speaking real English or just textbook English? Seriously, think critically about your own communication journey. Are you settling for that tiny 15%? Or are you ready to boldly dive into the 85% that makes the language truly come alive? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the real language that's constantly evolving all around you.